Driving School. This is Cheryl. How can I help you?
Hey, Cheryl, do you guys want to sponsor a podcast episode about driving?
I am in charge of nobody but myself, so I can take your name and number if you'd like.
Huh. Actually turned out better than when I used to call girls for dates. All right, welcome back. Once again, Eddie is the stand-in Jed. Our recording schedule and Jed's working schedule have not meshed up well lately. Eddie has agreed to step in, fill those giant shoes once again. Welcome in, Eddie.
Hey, glad to be here. And as my daughters say, is it going to be Eddie or is it going to be Jetty? Maybe that could be a thing.
I like Jetty.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's workshop
thanks for having
that.
me.
So a lot of our stories have been about our latchkey kid generation, the Gen X kids that raised themselves on Brady Bunch and cereal in the afternoon after school. And that's a big part of it. Another part of it is later on, those same kids had to work out in the world. And one of those things is driver's ed. Most of us took driver's ed.
I took it.
Did you?
I did. It was, I'm still in therapy because of our driver's ed teacher. So,
well, I need to hear about this. Let me start with a Facebook post that I posted back in 2021. I'll read it. I'll give you a couple of comments and then I'll tell you the story.
Perfect.
So if you went to Central Mid-High in Moore, Oklahoma, there's a chance you took driver's ed taught by Mr. Pro, P-R-O-U-G-H. And if you took the blue Dodge Diplomat out with him and a backseat full of fellow 10th grade miscreants, there's a good chance he would fall asleep when you started driving.
So your driver's ed teacher would fall asleep while you guys were in the car?
Routinely.
Oh my goodness.
As I'm typing this, I'm having trouble believing my memory, but it's completely true. One day when we hit the highway from 4th Street ramp, he's asleep by the 27th Street exit there in Moore. So I keep going. It's mid-morning, traffic's pretty clear. I look back at the bemused classmates in the back seat, quietly urging me to keep going. By the time Mr. Pro woke up, we were on the Broadway extension. Actually, we were past that. We were past Edmond, which is a north suburb. We were a south suburb. We were headed towards Guthrie. He woke up, looked around, mumbled something, and told me to exit. And then we drove back to Moore. The principal, Mr. Bell, let's see. He was sitting on the steps of the driver's ed building. This they call them portable or like temporary buildings back there that have been there since the 50s and they're probably there now. He was sitting on the steps, seemed to have something on his mind when we got back. It's pretty good.
So how late were you?
We left, I would say probably 2.5 hours, maybe 3.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was fun. So I thought, that's gotta be something that, Mr. Bell probably took care of that and, it was never mentioned again. So I put that on Facebook. That wasn't just me or my class. I've got comments. Let's see. Do I give first and last names? What can they do?
You could treat it like a 12-step program and give their first name, the first initial of their last name.
Well, here's a guy named Chad. Well, I'll call him Goucher.
Okay.
Well, he's a pastor out in Arizona. What's he going to do to me? Nothing.
He's going to pray for you, Scott.
Comment was he had a student driving, and they swerved off the road after a turn and almost hit the speed limit sign. Then said student gunned it down Eastern. He said, "Do you know the speed limit here?" Student said, "I don't know." Mr. Pro says, "Well, you almost hit the damn sign. Get in the back." That's actually, here's Nevin Kirkland. He's an attorney now. He might do something. Let me skip him.
Hey, let's see. This would be a good way to test.
That's a good point. Okay. Let me find a good one here. Michelle Mullins. So we've got an Oklahoma City policewoman. All right, Jerry. I swear he did the same thing, but we headed south. We got past the Wayne Payne exit, which, if you're familiar with Oklahoma, that's a good ways south of Moore. He woke up and said, "I'm thirsty." We continued south to the next exit, got something to drink, and headed back. We were very late. The brand new gold Dodge Dynasty. Let's see. What else do we have here? Kenny Spence says, "I was terrified he would slam on that right side driver's ed brake in his sleep while we were on the highway." So again, my stories aren't unique. I remember we'd go to we called it the stimulator. It was the driver's ed simulator, which was just terrible. Like, we all sat behind the wheel, and it had this woman from the 1960s walking across the street with groceries, and everybody tried to swerve and to hit her, and it was just so dumb. But we were in there.
Did I hear you say stimulator?
Yeah, we called it the stimulator. It stimulated good driving habits.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So we all go to the stimulator, and it was on the other side of the campus, by the way. It was up in the parking lot. So we went there, and people and the lights are out, so God knows what all was going on in there. You look at the back, there's Mr. Pro leaned back, drooling, just snoring. Like,
is this man still alive?
No, he probably died in a car accident.
Oh gosh.
No, I don't know. I checked though, and he has checked out. Let's see, we've got a couple others here.
Well, I just want to say I used to be a high school teacher, and I'd have students that would sleep all day. And that's normally because they had like night jobs after school where they would be working till 2:00 in the morning. I'm wondering if Mr. Pro had some sort of extracurricular activities that kept him so sleepy during the day.
Well, funny you should say that. If you're a regular listener of the show, and why would you not be? We had a podcast about the Diamond Ballroom. And Kyle Davis says here, he would always take a big dip of Skull halfway to Goldsby. It'd be dribbling down his cheek. He took money at the door at the Diamond Ballroom. Every time he went there, he'd tell me to stay out of trouble. He was a nice guy. And he was. Everybody loved him because, he's asleep. What are you going to do? So, yes, he worked. He took money, and he was a bouncer out of the Diamond. And when I spoke to one of the family members of the Diamond founders and did the interview, we talked about him for a while. He worked out there, and I always said he reminded me of like a sleepy Ed McMahon.
Okay.
Because it kind of looked like him, and yeah. So let's see here.
Was there any chance he was day drinking?
If I were in charge of a bunch of kids and they had to drive, I certainly would be.
Yeah.
So Jamie Pickens, you know how it goes with Facebook? Like, I said maybe 5 words to Jamie all through school, and now we chat on Facebook every once in a while, which she comments on some stupid thing that I post, or the same way with her. So it's like you know her better than you did when you were in school, which is a weird phenomenon of Facebook. So she says, what was his name? Bigger guy. Well, his name was up top there, Jamie. First time he had me drive, I asked him to put his seatbelt on, and he basically told me to shut up and drive.
Oh my gosh.
And promptly fell asleep with me on I-35. When he woke up and asked why I was driving 75, see, that's problematic right there. When he woke up, looked around and said, "Oh, why is this 10th grader going 75 on the highway?" I told him, because last time you yelled at me to never brake on the highway. So obviously I wasn't going to. And then she ends with, "But I took him to get corn nuts, so there was no problem."
Wow.
Lord. So what was your driver's ed similar?
No, mine. Well, yes and no, because it was rural, Upper East Tennessee, up in the Johnson City area. So we would just get on these country back roads where we didn't have interstates and intersections to get off to get corn nuts. All we had was tobacco fields and hay fields and churches. So he was just a Southern guy who barely said anything, and he would just tell you where to turn around, and there was no excitement. It was boring. I'm jealous.
Mine was terrifying. And Kenny's right. Like, I used to look over at him, and like, because every once in a while he'd shift in his seat because you can't get really good sleep in a car. And I thought, that clubby foot is going to slam down on that brake when I'm way out of the county driving around the countryside. So, yeah, but it never happened as far as I know.
Well, that's why this could never happen today, because if it happened today, you'd have 5 kids with their phones out, all taking video, and then he'd end up on TikTok, and then he'd be on the news. And
the teacher that hates children, details at 10.
Yeah, that's exactly what it would be.
It's got his high school picture with his buzz cut and his smirk.
That's why we have these stories from our childhood that they're not on camera, thank God, and it's lore that we have in our heads and our fellow classmates know about, but people actually, that's why these stories need to be out, Scott. People need to know.
Casey Vermont, buddy of mine, childhood buddy, she wrote, we took it in the summer and had different coaches all the time, including Coach Raper. Coach Raper, by the way, was the girls' basketball coach.
No, I'm calling BS on this.
No, Coach Raper was the girls' basketball coach. Mr. Bell was the principal. They I think they bonused the schools for ironically or just horribly named teachers. That kind of derailed things. Anyway, she remembers. God, it sounds like I was raised in Mayberry. She remembers taking Kayla McCoy, who I had in every class in elementary school, and they go to her house. Anyway, all these memories popped up. Here's Jimmy Hammondtree. I had him in a math class one time. Cool kid, smiley, was in a rock band. He said, I remember telling someone about Mr. Pro the other day. So this is deeply embedded with an entire generation of kids in Central Oklahoma that kind of learn how to drive on their own.
I think someone should do a study and see how many of the students who ever had Mr. Pros ever died in a fiery car wreck.
I would like to see our collective points on our driving record.
Yeah, I mean, someone who has some extra time, please make that a priority.
So Jimmy says, one day while I was in the back seat and someone else was driving, he fell asleep, of course. And hit the brake on the highway.
Oh, gosh.
So it did happen.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he told Jamie not to ever do that. So he'd fall asleep while we were in the simulators all the time too. Oh God, did he ever? But that's not fair. So this guy obviously was tired. He came to work, maybe a day drinker. Again, I'm not throwing stones here. But they put him in this dark room where he's in the back and he turns on the stimulator. So he leans back in his chair. He's gone, man. He's out. And everybody else is just like driving into, like smashing through houses and running over women in crosswalks and like just generally just jerking around. And I need to pull my transcript and see what I made in driver's ed, because if he gave anybody a B or a failing, how do you fail that?
I mean, I think survival would equal an A.
I was driving, I'll never forget this. I was driving on Eastern and 12th Street in Moore. And I go through the intersection, and for some reason, I decided to adjust my steering wheel in the middle of the intersection.
Smart.
And for some reason, as fate would have it, that was one of the 20 seconds that Pro was awake on that trip. And he looked over and said, I should mark you down for that, but yeah, you know what you're doing. I was asleep.
Yeah, and for your listeners, the cars back then, they didn't have those fancy switches where it would just go and move out. It was a knob, and it go up and go down, and
right.
That's a risky move.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. So I got one more comment here. I'm looking for it. Let's see here. See, the comments that show up here, um, SC Moore wrote, I don't remember much about driver's ed at Central. So that tells me that she didn't have Mr. Pro.
Yeah.
She got one of the other teachers. But some of the stories here are about, we would go out driving and then we would stay in the classroom on alternate days to watch, blood spills red on the highway.
Yes. Remember those videos?
Terrible.
I mean, they had two types of videos. If you were in shop class, they'd have the videos where like the 2x4 would be on the saw and go through someone's midsection, and then they'd have like the fake intestines hanging out, and then on the car one you'd have like the highway patrol and the burned bodies, and they would try to, it's like Scared Straight for drivers.
Right. I forgot about those shop videos. Little Timmy won't be going to the dance on Friday. Why not? Little Timmy sawed his hand off.
Yeah.
Maybe little Timmy's stupid. Maybe little Timmy doesn't need to be at the dance.
Yeah. Great memories. Thanks for taking me back, Scott.
Yeah. So where is Adam? Oh, here he is. It's Adam Fuller. He now goes by Adam Jackson. So congratulations on your recent marriage. I guess I don't understand how that works. So I always looked forward to driver's ed. We would gather up at one of those white portable buildings in the back of Central. I remember I was driving and another student was in the back. We were out near Draper Lake. He said, Adam, you're and just, I guess to maintain our clean status here, I'll say crappy driver. I let go of the steering wheel, turned around, and was explaining to Mr. Pro how good of a driver I am. About that time, Mr. Pro grabbed the steering wheel, told me to pull over and get in the back because you're a crappy driver. So I guess the judge would wake up every once in a while, come out of it and like, I don't know. The main takeaway from all of these posts are the dude. I wasn't alone. He'd fall asleep. I thought I was just boring, and I am. So I thought, well, he's asleep because like everybody around me usually does. But this happened everywhere, and a lot of corn nuts were purchased on the road.
Lots of corn nuts.
So
when Mr. Pros passed away, they felt that right in the corn nut industry. So
I guess I don't know the key takeaway here, and I would love to hear comments. We're getting comments about previous episodes, and I need to kind of drop an idea of what a next episode is going to be, so people can call in or send notes about their experiences. But I know this can't be common. I don't think. But I'm sure there's stories all over the country of when kids are learning how to drive, it can't go smoothly.
Was this guy married? Did he have children?
I think he was married. He told me one day, we were in class, and he had an interesting theory about he always drove a brand new truck. He would trade it in every year. And he said, I don't change the oil in them. I don't put premium gas in them. I don't do anything because I'm not going to have it. I'm always going to have a truck payment. So why not drive a brand new truck? And I thought, boy, it's hard to poke holes in that. If you're going to have a truck payment, why not? But I mean, Dave Ramsey would throw up with rage if he heard that, but it worked for Pro. And I suspect that was a clever ruse to explain why he had a wrinkled truck every 6 months or so. You take a nap when a 14-year-old's driving. That's one thing. I don't recommend it. But you take a nap while you're driving, you're gonna wind up with a new truck every year.
You said 14-year-olds. Was the age different in Oklahoma when you were a child?
No, we got a year older every year. What do you mean?
No. What you said? 14-year-olds in the class, because in Tennessee where I grew up, you had to be 15 and passed your written test before you could take driver's ed.
Oh no, we didn't. I don't think we had to have a written test passed. I don't think so. Maybe.
Yeah, so it's Oklahoma. So
yeah, we had dirt roads. We had Flintstone cars. There wasn't even a combustible engine.
Fully understood.
Yeah, which I guess made it okay to sleep. I don't know. So I need to, like I said, put this out and let other people give me their experiences.
And rest in peace, Mr. Pro. Thanks for your service.
Yes. I hope the hearse didn't wreck.
Good gosh. I mean, think about again, if this was 2024 and he was doing that, he would be toast. It would be over. It'd be all on video. He'd get 1 million views. He'd go viral, and then his career as a teacher of driver's ed would be done. It'd be over.
Yeah, but they would have that Ed McMahon looking dude with his head on like some dancer's body, and he would become like that side dude and probably become a millionaire.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Like, he'd be on crappy podcasts across the country, and I kind of probably become a celebrity.
Well, shoot, but I guess I'm looking at it all wrong. He was just before his time.
If anything, Mr. Pro was well ahead of his time. He should have been on a covered wagon.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my gosh.
Wait, is that how that works? Ahead of his time? Behind the? I don't know. Mr. Pro was quite unique, though. Just imagine a slightly bigger Ed McMahon in a windbreaker with a little bit of snuff on the corners of his mouth. Hey, we're going to drive today, Mr. Pro. All right, let's get in the car. They get up. Let's go. Which one of y'all coming? Like, we went by rows. So, anyway, as far as I know, no one died. And don't most Gen X stories end with no one died?
Yeah, and that's our difference. That's our legacy, Scott.
It's like I told someone in an interview I did recently about a pending episode. That's why Gen X, we're so strong and resilient, because the weakest one of us did.
Yes, that's true.
That's where you get that. Well, I don't know, man.
I mean, weren't you the kid that had the bicycle and would build the ramps and do the Evil Knievel jumps? And I mean, that's just part of. No, we didn't have helmets. We broke bones. It was all right.
Yeah. Have you seen a kid in a cast in the last 15 years?
No.
I haven't either.
Well, you know what? I did. I saw one, but it was like this fluorescent pink. And I'm like, what in the world is that? So it was a little different.
It's carpal tunnel from his video game controller.
Oh, my God. Well, that's a good one. Nice work.
Yeah. He should have been in the stimulator. Well, that's it. We got through it. Thanks, Eddie. Hey, and to the heirs of Mr. Pro, kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, we love him. He was one of a kind, much to the disappointment of accident lawyers everywhere. Thanks for all the comments. You can get a hold of us at our socials at Free Nights and Weekends. We'll see you next week.
Prepare to qualify.